Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unlocked Tuesday live stream. My name is Jessie Lang, and whoop, whoop. And I teach people how to buy 1 to 3 rental properties per month on autopilot. That is the way that I have built my portfolio, and I teach others that exact same method. So today we are talking about a really great topic that is going to kind of set you up for success for those that do want to own those long-term rentals. I have my trusty sidekick with me today, Lizzie, who is our student success manager. I want to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. And we are going to be talking about the top 10 active job, top 10 way up here, active jobs in real estate, because you can't just buy a bunch of rentals with no money out of pocket. I mean, you can buy a couple, but you're going to need some money to invest. And so you might as well be making that money inside of real estate, building your knowledge, sharpening your skills, meeting the right people, all that. So we're going to set you up so how you can make money in order to put into real estate for that long-term passive retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Cool?
For sure.
So is this right? Yes, there we go. Top 10 active jobs in real estate. If you guys, this is super interactive, whether you are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching, even if you're watching the replay, just throw your questions in the comments. Let us know kind of where you are watching from. Always helpful to just know who's in the audience, and we can tailor some of this to you. So top 10 active jobs. Let's talk about kind of like earn while you learn. This is actually one of my favorite concepts. If I do this, is that okay? Can you still see it? Yeah, cool.
I can.
Okay. Earn while you learn. And this is a concept of like being paid for your education, right? It's kind of like an internship, maybe a paid internship, or some hours if you're working towards a certification or something like that. But essentially, what you need to take away from this is that investing in real estate is a marathon. It is not a sprint, and it could take years and sometimes even decades, depending where you're investing, for some of these returns to really mature and make it, something that you could live on, right? So even myself with a portfolio of over 70 units, I still have an active income. I show up every single week for my students. I show up for you guys, for the community, and I still make money. So just keep in mind, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You've heard me say that a million different times. And it's usually a good idea to keep an active income while you work on building that passive wealth.
When you say active and passive, what do you mean?
Yeah, super good question.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, Rhonda. Good to see y'all here. Lizzie, great question. So when I say active and passive, like, what does that mean? Passive, I think most folks know, like, hey, I want to buy a bunch of rentals so I can get that passive income, mailbox money. The money's coming in whether you are working or not. The money's coming in whether you're working or not. Now, of course, if you manage rentals, you know that there is still some work involved, even if it's passive, right? It's not truly passive. Almost nothing is. But when I say active, I'm talking about like your day-to-day, you're not necessarily, you're basically trading time for money. And it doesn't have to be a straight hourly like you would get at a W-2, but you're trading your time for money. This is really what's going to pay your bills. It's going to pay for your family, pay for your lifestyle, your vacations, all that. And so you got to have money to live on. Even if you own a large rental portfolio, you still need some money to live on. Now, like I said, that job very easily could be something in real estate. And if your active income is you're an attorney or you're a doctor or a medical sales, I'm just naming some high income, like please do not quit that to go become a property inspector or something like that. You can do many different things. A lot of these suggestions are like, hey, if you want to be full-time real estate, but you still need an active income, here are some roles that you could take over. Cool.
Heard.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get into what are the jobs that you could consider, I really want you to ask yourself some of these questions. And Lizzie and I are going to go through them together. Y'all are going to get to know a little bit about us. And honestly, sit down and really, really answer these for yourself. So, what are my core strengths? What are some skills, qualities that you receive compliments on? Like, think about what other people are telling you. So I lost you, Lizzie. Where are you? Some of my strengths. Some of my strengths are, connecting with people. That's a really good one.
Absolutely.
I'm good at taking big ideas and breaking them down into bite-sized pieces. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about you? What are some of your just core strengths?
I'm a teacher's pet. That's, for those who don't know, that's literally how I got this job, which is like my active job in real estate.
Yeah, your active income. Yeah.
I was a teacher's pet. I was Jesse's student and just really wanted to do whatever I could to like be the star.
Yeah, get in the world, get in the community. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And it brought me here. So look at us.
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments for my like research, my willingness to like be quick and research. Like,
yes,
if somebody poses a question, I have to find the answer like then and there.
You're super proactive. You're very organized. So y'all be asking yourself these questions too, right? So do you prefer working independently or part of a team? Mine is part of a team, hands down. If you put me in a silo by myself, I would lose my mind. Lizzie, I think you're a little of both.
Yeah, I don't like to be on a team with people who don't want to participate.
Yes.
But I also I like to like co-work. Like I want to talk and bounce ideas off people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I'm kind of the same way. If I have a deep focus task, then no one talk to me. I need to get through this. But for the most part, like I need to be around people. So y'all need to know that about yourself before you figure out which of these roles kind of would make sense for you. So how do I handle stress and tight deadlines? If you're bad at tight deadlines, you're probably not going to be a good real estate agent. Just let's be honest with ourselves. Like you're going to have a lot of tight deadlines with a lot of people's interests that you need to uphold. If you're great with tight deadlines and you love it, like there's a lot of jobs on this list that could work for you. Am I comfortable with fluctuating income or do I prefer a steady salary? A lot of these roles that we're talking about, you can do it actually as a salaried position, or you could do it in kind of more of an entrepreneurial way. I'm fully comfortable with fluctuating salary, fluctuating income. I've planned for it. That's part of being an entrepreneur. You have your reserves, you have, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, anything like that. So you really have to think for yourself. Lizzie, what would you say?
If you'd asked me this a year ago, I would definitely say like I need the stable salary, and even still I prefer it. But now it's like, okay, I could go more with fluctuating.
Yeah, you're getting a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then how strong are my communication interpersonal skills? There's people out there that were designed to be a computer coder and they just want, and I'm not saying everyone's in a basement, but you just want to put your headphones on, work away, hack away, get the project done, and really you don't want any sort of interpersonal. That's not a lot of things in real estate. Real estate's a lot of people related. We will look at some roles here that you could not really need interpersonal and you'd be just fine, but know that about yourself. And then last but not least, am I willing to work non-traditional hours, including evenings and weekends?
Big one.
Yeah, that's a really big one. And, we'll go through the list, but off the top of my head, I'm back to real estate agent. And I had my license. For a couple years. And I'm not going to lie, I was pretty bad at it because I was unwilling to give up my weekends. I was unwilling to give up my evenings for showings for someone that, I don't know, wasn't even going to buy the house. So I didn't love that. And I actually stopped that active income for that exact reason. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to as a parent.
As an entrepreneur now, I have the luxury of setting my own hours. And of course, if students need something in our group, whatever, I'm more than happy to answer questions. But for the most part, we do a really good job of sticking to business hours.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's a priority for me, a core value.
Yeah. I have kids. And so there's no There's not much wiggle room. We're busy every night.
Yeah, exactly right. So y'all keep these things in mind for yourself as we start going through this. So let's hop into it. The reason you're all here. What are these roles? So we talked about it a couple times already. Real estate agent, essentially you're buying and selling, renting other properties. You can be an agent for yourself, just for your own flips, rentals, if you're buying rentals, whatever. You can be a real estate agent for other people, which if it's active income is probably what I imagine. And you are showing homes, you're networking, preparing, submitting documents. You do need a license to get started to do it. You can be an agent's assistant, I think a licensed assistant. But if you want to be an agent yourself, you do need your license. And then this estimated pay, y'all, this would be like really kind of your first year. The beauty about a real estate agent is if you're good at it and you don't mind giving up your weekends and you want to build a team and you have a good network, the income potential is unlimited, truly unlimited. Some of my very successful agent peers, Misty Lynn, Brad Clarizio, big names, they are doing like tens of millions in sales a year with the help of a team. And, they're obviously commissions are way higher than this. So this would be like a kind of a starting role. And it's exponential from there. You need to be able to negotiate, interpersonal, I won't read this whole thing, but potentially very high earnings and flexible hours, but it can be very unpredictable. The market shifted post-COVID in a good way. And then the last 12 to 18 months, it shifted in a bad way. And that's in a 5-year period. So we've really seen a very, very condensed cycle on buyer's market, seller's market. And if you're an agent, you are honestly along for that ride. So just something to keep in mind. Now we have property manager. I actually am a property manager of our own portfolio. Now I do have help in-house who helps, who does some of the day-to-day stuff, but this is a role that could be active. You're managing for other people. It could be active. You're managing yourself and paying yourself. So essentially, handling tenant relations, maintenance requests, rent collection, assist with, marketing vacancies, all that. Estimated pay, if you are working for someone else at $30K, I would say is like the very, very low end. You maybe don't have a clue what's going on, but you can work your way up very quickly to, nearing 6 figures if it's something that you have a lot of experience and that you're really good at. Of course, you need communication, you need organization, and you need conflict resolution, because as a property manager, you are dealing with people related to their housing, and their housing is a critical part of every person's life, right? So often it's emotionally charged or emotionally driven. You need to be able to resolve that in a healthy way where everyone's happy with the outcome. Steady income, potential for property perks. Like if you are managing at an apartment building, like a larger complex, a lot of times you can get like free apartments, like free housing or discounted housing. So something to consider. And then it can be demanding with irregular hours or dealing with tenants. I don't mind that part. I definitely don't mind it, but I know some people are like, absolutely, like, don't want to do this. So again, just something to keep in mind with the role.
Do you think that you don't mind it because it's your rentals?
That's likely. Yeah, that is very likely that I'm doing it for a bigger cause. And it's our financial retirement plan. It is, I'm going to make sure that my assets are taken care of more than any property manager, in-house, third party ever would. I'm always going to care the most. And you are too, about your own assets. And so, yeah, that probably makes it a little bit more digestible.
Probably.
So now we have property inspector. This is one when I was saying you may not need interpersonal skills. If you are a property inspector and you're not an entrepreneur and you're just working for an inspection company, you almost never have to talk to anyone. You get in the house, you spend a couple hours there, you're testing all the systems, you're doing everything. You don't actually really have to talk to anyone, build a business if you're working for someone else. Now, if you're building your own business, of course, you need that marketing and networking and all that. So essentially an inspector, is going to be involved at the sale or sometimes a refinance of a property, and provide a comprehensive check of the property structure systems and report on, if you're doing a full inspection, this is often 25, 30-page report with photos of every single thing that you have found wrong or inadequate with the house. There is licensing required if the state mandates it, so something to consider. $35K to $80K annually. A lot of inspectors are paid by the number of inspections. So if you want to make more, you can work more. The trade-off there is you may have unpredictable hours. You may be, working on the weekends like we've talked about. But it gives you that flexible schedule. And a really cool one is a lot of these, if you're working in like the investor inspector world, you may get first look at a lot of deals. I know that our inspector that we use for years, Tommy Har, I'm sure you guys know him. He started out as an inspector and now is a huge investor here in Columbus. And the reason is because he was getting first look at for many reasons. He's, a great guy. But one of them was first look at a lot of these deals that were off market because they were from wholesalers. So, you do the inspection, you get paid for that. And then you're like, hey, are you selling this contract? Like, what's going on? And so you can actually, that's kind of a secret that an inspector can do that maybe a lot of other roles wouldn't.
Nice.
Now we have title agent. So a title agent, unless you're starting a huge title agency, it's very likely that you're going to be working for someone else, like as part of a company. You can begin at entry-level position and kind of move up, right? It starts from, within title, you could be an abstractor where you're actually going through and looking at the chain of title. You can be kind of sales side of it, but really you're working to get a process through the closing process, to get a property through the closing process. You have to be crazy detail oriented, a lot of research skills. You'll probably learn this on the job, but real estate law is very helpful. It's going to be very office based. A lot of title, you're not out in the field. That should have been a question you ask yourself. Do you want to be out in the field or do you want to be more desk based? Because you're going to get a wide variety of options here.
The other ones that you've looked at so far, for the most part, have been like self-employed, like contracted almost, or 1099. Like, can you do that as a title agent, or do you have to do that? Do you have to be under?
I don't know. I'm sure you could be a 1099 title agent, but unless you're starting your own major title company, which is like a huge undertaking, then you're very likely working for someone else, either in a W-2 or 1099 capacity.
Gotcha.
Yeah. A con is that repetitive tasks you are doing. I always joke with my title agent. I'm like, I don't know how y'all do this. You are out of your freaking minds, because it is the same thing over and over and over and over. You're under high pressure because everyone needs their deal done fast, and you're dealing with all sorts of walks of life, a lot of personal skills here, and I find it crazy, but they love it. If you like title, then you love title. Like, you're like a special breed. Yeah. All right. So then we have our rehabber and flipper. This is very likely entrepreneurial. It could be a role in-house that you are actually like acting more as a project manager. You're buying a distressed property with the intent of renovating it and selling it at a profit. I'm buying a distressed property with the intent of renovating it and then renting it out long term. So we're doing a lot of the same steps, but it's the exit strategy that's a little bit different. So you need, of course, attention to detail, some design, but you can outsource a lot of that if you're not good at it. Budgeting, and of course, understanding the market. Pay, y'all, I'm telling you, a single project could be, if you do it wrong, hopefully you break even and you don't lose money, up to, we've had a 6-figure flip in the past. So the options really are open-ended. It depends how good of a deal you can find. That estimated pay that's pretty low. Once you get up to the point where you're doing 12 houses a year, so like one a month, you're probably going to need some support in-house. So then you're going to have some different expenses there. You're going to have some software, a bunch of stuff that's going to kind of eat at your profits. But for the most part, flipping is a highly profitable, if it's done right, highly profitable, but highly taxed job. Everyone says, I'm a real estate investor. You have a job. Flipping is a job. If you're selling, it's a job. It is transactional. So that's why we kind of have it in this list, because you're making the active income as soon as that project's done and sold. What do we have? Super high potential for returns. If you're good at it, you get to be a little bit creative. Cons, it's high risk. I have definitely lost money on a flip. I will not be ashamed to say more than once. And so high risk, capital intensive. I don't care what anyone says. You do need money to buy real estate.
That's one of your pet peeves.
It is, yeah. If a guru tells you you need no money, they're wrong. That's just flat out wrong. You need some money. Maybe not as much as you think, but you do need some. All right. And then we have a wholesaler. So I actually myself wholesaled from 2018 to 2022. So it is something 4 years I'm very, very familiar with, very comfortable with. We buy from a lot of wholesalers now. It's essentially the concept of going out, doing the direct to seller marketing, and then without ever taking ownership to the property, you can sell the contract that you have with the seller to an end buyer in exchange for a fee. So essentially a wholesaler will go out, do the marketing. They will put the property under contract, sell that contract to you as the end buyer. But you can be the wholesaler, the middleman. You have to have, it's a little tricky. Everyone thinks it's an entry-level strategy because you technically don't need any money because you're never taking title to the property. But it's not entry-level because you need to understand how to run comps. You need to understand a market. You need to understand how your buyer will be financing a property. You need to understand renovations, like heavy understanding of how renovations are done, because you have to be pricing this and pricing your contract in a way that makes sense that it will sell while still getting you the best profit possible. Mm-hmm. And so you need a big understanding. Estimated pay, $5,000 to $20,000 per deal. We have wholesales. I made $2,000 or $3,000, and my goal there was to do what's right for the seller, because I told them that someone was buying the property. So I'm like, I don't even care how much I make. Let's just get this done for the seller. We've made $50,000 wholesales more than once, and I've got more than one occasion we've had $50,000 wholesales. So this is per property, and if you're good at it, it is again kind of no upward limit. That said, marketing is very expensive. Since the time I stopped wholesaling, the rules around marketing have also gotten much more strict. So cold calling, texting, those were kind of low-hanging fruit. They were really cheap leads, not super hard to implement. Those are highly illegal. So you're doing more PPC with inbound leads, with mailer campaigns where the seller will call you. And so it's a little bit more expensive now, but even if you're doing it right, even with your marketing costs, you should definitely be profitable. But like I said, you need to understand all aspects of deal analysis. You need to be able to negotiate with sellers. You need to network with buyers. Like, it is pretty extensive. It is a good way to get started, but there's a learning curve because you get to touch every single part of the process. Now, low capital in the sense that you don't have to close on the property, and fast returns. You don't have to wait for a flip. You don't have to wait for a renovation, for a rental, anything. It's like as soon as that contract is sold and it closes, you're paid at closing. Requires a lot of hustle, y'all. A lot of hustle. Deals can fall through. You can put in a ton of effort for a project or for a contract that ends up the seller ghosts you, or you find out through title that the house is underwater. They owe more than it's worth, all sorts of things. So it's risky, and you can waste a lot of time if you don't know some of the things to look out for. So yeah,
what did you like about it over being an agent? There's just the hours, or
the money. Yeah, the money. I will say, by the time that I stopped wholesaling, a lot of the rules and the laws had changed. The cheap leads were gone and I was not super profitable. So it actually wasn't that exciting anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it was for a long time. We're making 10, 15K a month profit pretty easily.
Nice.
Yeah. And so it's a good one. It's definitely a good one. It's going to take you some effort to learn, but it's going to connect you with probably, of any job on the list, the most pieces of understanding real estate.
Gotcha.
Cool. Now we have a property appraiser. This is probably another one that you could work independently or you could work for a company, but you don't necessarily have to talk to a lot of people. So if you're like really analytical and you like numbers, you like structure, but you're okay with a little, an appraisal's an opinion of value. So it's part science, part art. Essentially, it's the person who goes out and tells the bank how much a property is worth. There is some formal training. Depending on the state, you may need a certification. Pay anywhere from, 40K low end, 80K plus. If you're working for yourself, you have a couple of appraisers under you, you kind of build a business around it. That can be, double, triple for sure. But you have to be super analytical. There's typically consistent demand. It's going to ebb and flow a little bit with the market. The more properties being sold, the more appraisals that are needed, et cetera. The field work can be time consuming. You're out in the field. Literally, there's an element because you have to come back and write the report, but like you're visiting every single property that you appraise. That is the job, to go to the property. So if you're like, hey, Jesse, it's 11 degrees outside right now. Ain't no way that you're getting me out to go appraise a property. Like maybe this isn't the job for you.
Absolutely not. I will not be out there.
Yeah, no way. Yeah. So real estate photographer, kind of same thing. You are going to be on site. You clearly need to take the photos, right? It could be rental listings. It could be, anything. We get professional photos taken for our rentals. We use the same photo set over and over and over. This could go all the way up to $1 million homes with drone footage and video walkthroughs and all sorts of stuff. So it can go from super simple to like way more complex and artistic. A lot of this, again, unless you're working for someone else, you are going to need to do a lot of networking. And the good news is on a lot of these, you're going to have repeat business. Like I've used my same photographer the last 3-4 years, and I have no interest in finding a new photographer. But he had, he had to build that business, right? And
Right.
So it's fun. There's a creative one, a little bit more creative than some of these others that we've talked about. Then we have boots on the ground, y'all. I think so. Boots on the ground is essentially a role where you could work for a remote investor. If you are here in Columbus and you're working for a California investor, they're going to need someone who's impartial to do a lot of the things that they can't do because they're remote. It's literally acting as the eyes and ears of someone else. Now, you need to understand the local market, have some network contacts. It's usually something that is very, very clearly hour for money. Like there's not really a opportunity to.
It's not full time.
Yeah. It's definitely not full time. It's something you would kind of do on the side where, my investor could be like, hey, I need to go look at this. I am thinking about putting an offer on this deal. Can you meet my agent out there? And then I'm going to go acting, me as the boots on the ground. I'm going to go out there acting completely in the interest of my investor, not in the interest of the agent, not in the interest of anything, just the investor. So we've seen $35, $50 an hour. It's not super high end, but it is a way to meet a lot of people, to walk a lot of houses, to get to know a lot of investors. You need to be honest, good communication, and some understanding of a property. And then, like Lizzie kind of said, the work can be sporadic and requires travel. There's not much. I mean, the point is the boots on the ground. Otherwise, the investor could just do it for themselves. Like you need to be there. So there is some driving around the city and all that.
One of our students refers to this as feet in the street.
Ooh,
I like that a lot.
I haven't heard that one. Feet in the street. Yes. Yeah, exactly right. So it's someone who is local. And so I'm telling you, if I had to pick one of these that was truly entry level, I would start being a boots on the ground for someone. Yeah. All right. And then last but not least, we have a stager. Now, stager is going to be the person who makes a property look fantastic prior to listing it. You need a lot of design and staying up with the trends. If you want to be hired, you need to have packages of furniture and accessories that sell properties. If they don't sell properties, you're not going to get hired. So you want to be like kind of up with the trends. You need to understand the market preferences, be organizational. But y'all, there is a lot of inventory to keep track of. There's furniture breaking. There's moving parts. There's, you're not just, I don't know how people do it, because if you told me I had to move my house every single day, I would lose my mind. And so it's essentially you're employing a like team of movers, basically. And there's some tips and tricks. You're not moving like full size mattresses, all that, but it can be very labor intensive, and you really gotta have people who are like cool with moving. I'm not a stager, but I can imagine there's a good amount of turnover there. We should bring a stager on to a live stream. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll do that. And so obviously physical, and then you're going to have to, there's some barrier to entry because you have to invest in multiple properties worth of furniture at the same time, right? You're not just going to have one house staged a month. You're not going to make any money.
Right.
Yeah. So you need a lot of furniture. So just something to keep in mind. I do have some questions I'm going to go ahead and answer. If y'all have any other questions, throw them in the chat and I will get to them.
We have a couple from Instagram too.
Okay, cool. Yay, we'll get to those. So New ask, any ways to get into being an appraiser? Oh, and you are a photographer. Nice. So I would just contact some of the larger appraisal companies near you, like in your market. And that is going to get you like the foot in the door. I think it's much easier to start at a large corporation because they're going to have all the training, they're going to have the resources, you're going to stay busy because they're getting a lot of business, and do that for a year or two, maybe less, and figure out like if it's something you want to do for yourself, because if you do want to be your own appraiser, that's, I think, really where the money is. And so, but you really need to learn it first. Check if you need any licenses in your state. And then I think it's a great way to really understand real estate.
For sure.
What do you have on Instagram?
Wise Realtor asked, where did the first question go? When do you think someone could or should quit their like current active income to be fully invested into real estate? For example, say they're an engineer. At what point do you think they should consider quitting to go full force with real estate? So I don't know if they're thinking passively or actively. I'm not really sure.
It's a tricky question. When I went real estate full time, I started wholesaling. I didn't make a penny for 6 months. Not a penny. Not only did I not make money, I was also spending a lot of money. Not a ton, but I was writing postcards and like sending mailers and like doing all this stuff. So I had software expense. I had some expenses and didn't make money for 6 months. Now you got to be really honest with yourself, your family, your financial situation. Is that something that you could stomach? Now we had saved a bunch. I had some rental properties that were from my house hacking days back in Austin, if you know my story at all. So I did have 3 rentals at that time, and that was paying for some of the income. And if I had to do it again, I probably would do it different. But I was so fed up with my day-to-day job, that like my W-2 job, that I just was like willing to take whatever shot it. I was willing to take a chance. Now, if you are an engineer, I will say you are likely making more money than I was, because I was not in a high-paying job. So we call it kind of the golden handcuffs. I had no golden handcuffs. It was like maybe like a little feather, a chain of feathers. I just blew them off, and I was off on my own. So it wasn't a huge income to replace. So you have to be really honest about, what income are you trying to replace, and how long of a financial runway do you have to get up to replacing it, right? Like it's going to be really hard to build an active income real estate role while acting as an engineer. But say you make 100K. If you think you can get up to 100K in your active income, or I guess in your real estate job, if you can get up to 100K in 12 months, get yourself 12 months of runway for all your personal financial costs. Make sure your mortgage is paid. Make sure you don't want to go homeless because you decided to take a leap into real estate. So, figure out how long is it going to take you to replace that, and then have that money set aside in case of emergency.
Right.
Nice.
Solid. Do you have any predictions with the market shifting with like recent political changes?
Oh gosh, here we go.
That was also a question.
Any personal opinions aside, I think that the current administration is overall good for entrepreneurs. I do. There are some tax incentives that were being sunsetted out. Some 1031 stuff was on the chopping block. I do believe that's all coming back. So I think as a full-time investor, regardless of whatever I think personally, I am in a good position for the next 4 years. I do believe that. Predictions wise, it's unpredictable. The whole thing is unpredictable. I stopped making predictions. I can't guess what's going to happen next. But I think overall, any of you guys stick to the fundamentals. Stick to the fundamentals. Get really good at something. Don't jump all over the place all of the time. And you're going to be in a much better situation regardless of who is in office.
Right.
Yeah. Stick to the fundamentals. That's what I got to say.
Love it. That's all that was on the IG, I think.
Awesome. Y'all, this was a fun one. This was really good. Super interactive. Thank y'all all for being here. I will say Lizzie has a little surprise for y'all coming out on Thursday. So watch the Facebook group. We're going to give you a little freebie kind of related to this. And if you're like ready to take the leap into starting to buy rentals, whether it's with your real estate active income, whether it's with your W-2 active income, whatever it is, whether it's savings, whether it flips, whatever. I teach people how to buy 1 to 3 rental properties per month on autopilot. We have hundreds of students who are, working towards this or doing it themselves. And it has been an absolute pleasure. It's my active income, right? And I love what I do. And so I would love to send you a little free mini course that we have that I teach you exactly our method that I use to buy 1 to 3 rentals per month. So if you want that, Lizzie is going to post the link in, it's already on the YouTube channel and in the description, and she just posted it in the Facebook group. So would love to have y'all take a look and just reach out and let us know what you think. So awesome. Lizzie, this was a fun one. Thank you so much.
For sure. Thanks, guys.